completely on board with this plan. Danny Boy.
If I could handpick one team for Jalen Milroe, it would be the New York Giants in the second round. This would be the ideal situation. If you got Jalen Milroe, you can go full Lamar Jackson rookie mode, where here it comes 15 times a game. Because this young man, while he's improving as a passer, is an absolute rocket ship with the ball in his hands. This would be the perfect place for both the player and the organization.
Danny.
You don't like this
Oh,
pick?
he's a turnover machine. I wouldn't go near him. Did anybody see the Tennessee game last year up in Knoxville when he 9,000 interceptions? Or how about the time in Vanderbilt when they couldn't win? Or how about the championship game against the semifinals at the Rose Bowl against Michigan when he ran the sneak instead of got out of the play, which cost him a chance to tie Michigan in the Rose Bowl? He killed Alabama. Listen, I understand he's got a big arm and he can be dynamic. I don't think this works. I would not. You want to take him in the 5th, 6th round, take a chance? I can't use a second-round pick on him. That's a move I would never make. And I've seen it. We've all seen Alabama play a million games. He is too risky with turning the ball over, Lewis, to me. I wouldn't take him.
So you're saying you wouldn't take him in the first, you wouldn't take him in the second?
No, because they got a high second-round pick.
Okay, well, look, this is kind of layered for me. I'm going to put it like this as far as the Giants are concerned. All right? So Jalen Milroe needs consistency and needs structure. And that structure is going to provide the consistency, right? So he needs to go to a place where GM, head coach, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach have a long runway and have displayed a high level of competency to bring him along. Because he's already shown you enough flashes as a thrower that his very best is as good as anybody in this draft. It's just a matter of consistency. It's a matter of him getting comfortable, repeatable mechanics. So we do all the time. Because if you look at the Georgia game this past year, you'd say he's as good as any quarterback in the country. You look at certain throws against Oklahoma, you go, he's as good as any quarterback in the country. You look at other throws, you go, he's as boneheaded as any quarterback in the country. So he needs time and consistency to develop. All right? So if you're John Mara right now and you're the New York Giants in particular, see, Dan's looking at this as just a single, like a little snapshot of going, Brian Daboll, Mike Kafka, Giants, we can put him in there, run some Lamar stuff, and of course he'd give him a big juice up. Well, that's cool for right now maybe in certain spurts. But look, Russell Wilson's going to be the starter there. Jameis Winston is going to be the backup there. He isn't going to play in New York. And those two guys ain't taking New York anywhere in that division and in the NFC overall. And if I'm John Mara, look, I've already said in the past, we did everything we could to screw up Daniel Jones. And you know what that was? It was constant turnover and change and incompetence. And I'm not saying Brian Daboll's incompetent or Mike Kafka. I love them both. But we don't even know if they're going to be there. We don't know if Joe Shane's going to be there. So to me, if I'm John Mara, he's the only one who knows what success looks like for this football team and therefore whether or not Jalen Milroe fits this organization. Because if I'm him, I'm not doing to another quarterback what I did to Daniel Jones. And if I'm likely to blow these two guys out of here, I'm not picking the guy. And that's why I don't know if he fits New York. Only John Mara can tell you that.
Marcus, that's a lot to unpack right there.
I like that. I agree with the first part, what you said, Lou. I think Dan is looking at it from the prism of what we've seen Daboll do with quarterbacks before. And I agree with him with that sentiment when you start talking about in that particular situation with veteran quarterbacks in the building already, knowing a guy is not immediately ready to play, but a guy that we've seen help quarterbacks play better than what people thought they could. Yep. He was the reason Josh Allen turned into this Josh Allen that we know. Now the turnovers have went away and Josh Allen has taken it to another level. He was also a part of Daniel Jones fooling the hell out of all of us thinking that he should get $100 million for a short, extended period of time with the New York Giants. A lot of that had to do with there was nowhere else to go. But instead of doing that, you probably should have went after Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston a couple of years ago and just ripped that Band-Aid off and started it. I don't mind Milroe being projected 34th. One, and y'all know my sentiment about not having to pay these guys a ton of money. But Lou, on the other side, I do agree with you with that with Mara. If this coaching staff is not going to be in place, if this is the year where you make a determination, if you need to go a completely different direction with your general manager and your head coach, this is not the draft pick to take. You take a guy that is going to fit any situation. And usually that's guys that play premium positions on the lines of scrimmage, or you take a cornerback or somebody that can play in any system. With that being said, though, Joe Shane, Your time is ticking anyway. And I have been waiting to say this for a year. Saquon Barkley went to Philly and led that team to a Super Bowl. You had a decision to make about what this team would be and what they would do identity-wise for the New York Giants. You decided to go another direction. And I know you didn't do that without the ownership having to at least be on board somewhat, even though we heard what the owner said about if he saw Saquon Barkley go to Philly and have a tremendous amount of success. So whether or not they have a good season, Joe Shane will be gone based on a bad season. I'm not sure about Brian Daboll. I think there's a little bit more confident in the head coach than it is in the general manager.
Let me say one thing about Barkley since Swagoo brought it up. I don't know any Giant fan who regrets may not like the fact they went to Philly. Every Giant fan that I know understands why they did that. They were 6-11 the year before that with Barkley. It's like having a great closer. If you have the great running back, you'd have a good team ready to win. The Giants weren't ready to win. So I don't have any problem at all. And most Giant fans don't either. Don't like the fact they went to the Eagles because it's a rivalry. But they weren't going to win with Barkley anyway because they weren't ready to win the games. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, the only thing I say to that, though, is, when the hell are they going to be ready to win games?
Well, they weren't ready to win last year. You knew that. The quarterback was a mess.
But still, you know, you're not going to ever going to be able to win games if you keep getting rid of good players.
And he's
what they do the year
he
before.
was the face of the team.
What they do it last
But
year before.
he wanted to come back there. He would have probably taken a lesser contract to come back.
His career there. He wanted to finish his career.
No,
with
you know
the
what?
New York
See,
Giants.
I'm not with that. I'm not with that.
No way.
You can't just
cannot bring
continually
it back
get rid
on
of
a
good
bad team.
players and then go, well, we're not ready to win now. Well, no kidding, you're not.
But they were not going to win with
what
them
else?
anyway. They didn't win the year before when he had a big year.
Well, you know what? Well,
What about having someone to watch? A star on the team.
Well, I mean, what do you do? You just get rid of every good player that you have?
It's a running
If you're not
back.
ready,
It's
But
a running back position.
beyond that, don't you have to have good
Oh, that's
players
a whole
in
different
order to
discussion.
start
All right,
that
one at a
trajectory?
time. One at a time. Go ahead. What's Swagoo?
Go ahead, Swagoo.
Like you got to have good players to start the trajectory of winning. And we all knew that Saquon Barkley was a really good player. Like I've never understood this subtraction to get better unless a guy is old. That's the only reason that I would have said get rid of Saquon Barkley. Look, we could talk about that for years. Saquon Barkley should have been a Giant.
No,
you know what it is, Swagger? This is what happens. And this is what happens a lot. We always think the conversation always becomes, well, if we get rid of this guy and we free up this much cap space, or we trade this guy and we get this many draft picks, we're automatically going to nail every other transaction that we do now. Yeah. We're just going to nail it because what we'll do is now that we have all this cap space and all these, it's going to just work out for us.
Leave it there.
It's not an automatic thing. Right. You can't assume that.
We can debate whether they should have hung on to Saquon or not, but we cannot debate how they handled it. And how they handled it publicly on Hard Knocks. I have to go to break.
That was the NFL's fault making them do this stupid Hard Knocks.
It was Joe Shane's fault.
It was Joe Shane's fault for how he handled it. Oh, go take a spin around the block. Then maybe I'll talk to you. It was beyond disrespectful.
It was $28 million. What's so disrespectful about that? They owed him $22 million. Guaranteed money. That's not disrespectful. $22 million guaranteed. You want it or not? Well, I want more.
Happy.
And he got more. I don't blame him.
Yeah, y'all happy y'all kept the quarterback. Okay. All right. Daniel Jones was the
How'd betting on Daniel Jones work out? Coming up, which team is under the most pressure to reach the